All right, got another person. So welcome. Oh. All right. Looks like
Hi,
we got it.
Rona.
Who's that?
Then Michelle. Hi, Rona.
Hey, Michelle. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Let me make sure that I am recording. I am. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, great.
All right.
Yep.
Welcome, everyone. I am Paul Stallman. I am your host for this evening. So we're doing a WordPress class, which is going to be a little bit free form, and I'm going to let you guys, ask some questions and specific questions about your own websites. And one of the things that Michelle had asked me to touch on specifically was in the state we're in right now, obviously, the importance or the ease of being able to potentially add a store or the ability to do some online sales on your website. So I wanted to touch on that a little bit with people. I have set up since the beginning of this, which I still don't know exactly how many weeks it's been. Somebody told me 7 weeks the other day, but it seems like a lot more than 7 weeks to me. But I've done probably half a dozen brand new e-commerce sites for people with what I'm going to show you tonight, strictly for getting businesses changed over so that they could sell or do some sort of sales or take donations or whatever it may be online on their website. And it's so it varies from customer to customer, but I did set up a company probably, I'm going to say 2 weeks ago, we launched her site. And she set up an online store. We talked about it for years. She's a client I've had for years, but she never got kind of everything together enough to start her online store. She got it done about 2 weeks ago. We launched it, and she's already done over 100 orders in 2 weeks. So, it just goes to show you that, if you've thought about selling stuff online, maybe now's the time, because at least right now, people have a lot more time to browse the web. So, and it's one of the only ways some people can get certain products. So, let me start just by recording with everybody that I've got here. Oops, I've got another person that I need to admit. Sorry about that. Let me start just by asking everyone, welcome, Sarah.
Hi, thanks.
So I was just explaining to everyone that I'll reiterate again that basically I'm going to do the WordPress part of this class a little free form, in that I'm going to let you guys, kind of guide me on what you want to know about WordPress. And then I'm also going to touch on doing e-commerce in finding a way to monetize your business that you may not be able to do right now because of the pandemic and having to stay at home and wear masks all the time. So let me start by asking everyone, and if you want to just take, oops, where's my chat window? All right, I'm here. My Zoom doesn't work on my laptop. All right, so Liz is here, but we can't see her or maybe hear her. So I'm gonna go through and I'm just gonna call your name and just give me a rough idea what you would like to learn about WordPress tonight, or what questions you may have. And I know that as we talk about stuff, you may have other ones, but let me know, if you've got a WordPress site at all right now, if you're just interested in learning about doing a WordPress site, and so forth and so on. So I'm just going to go down the list that I've got here. Rona. Well,
Yes, that's me.
Yeah. You're not on top. You're not on top anymore. Somebody else jumped to the top. So, but Rona, you want to just give me a little
Okay, so I only have one product, so I'm not worried about product. My website's super old. It's in an HTML format right now, and it's been decades that I've been talking about redoing it. I started working with somebody maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and so I have a WordPress account, which I just found and redid my password before we came on. And a friend of mine had suggested using Envanto or Evanto. Are you familiar with it?
I am, yes.
Yeah. So, because I thought it would be easier because I like seeing things in real time, and he suggested that would be a way to go. I've never used it. I really don't have any idea what to do with it. I need to completely revamp my old website and start new, basically.
Okay. Okay.
It's a big, huge mental block for me.
I understand that. What's the name of your website right now?
Rona Tales, as in stories. I'm a storyteller.com.
All right.
It's grossly not good.
Okay. We'll come back to that in a minute, but I'm going to go through everybody else. So, Michelle, if you want to tell me a little bit.
Me, Michelle?
You, Michelle, yes.
Okay. I work for a restoration company, and I
Yep.
do go on WordPress and make some small changes. And I'm just very unfamiliar with it. So I just make sure I don't do anything major. And I was, we have to add a page because we do fogging disinfectant. And so we do that typically as part of our service already. And so now that people need it, we are going to add a page, but we're having somebody do it because I'm not good enough at it and confident enough. So I figured I'd watch this and see what I could get out of it.
Sure, absolutely. What's the name of your website?
Lip Tack Restoration. And somebody else created it. I did not create it, but I do go in and add, like I can change some of the wording. I did add a little bit wording to our sewage, saying that we do fogging disinfectant, but it's just, I'm very limited on what I am willing to do without feeling like I'm going to ruin the whole website.
Right, I understand.
Just don't have, yeah.
All right. Sarah, you want to tell me a little bit about what you've got and what you are looking to learn?
Well, it's interesting because it's similar to what people have said so far. I have In Nature Bed and Breakfast, and I have a website that was built on WordPress by a professional web designer. And he has told me, and I know that I can make changes, but like Michelle, I'm not really confident. And I've had various people always ready to criticize the web page, and I know that it needs to be updated. It's only 2 or 3 years old now, but it's amazing how important it is to try to find those SEO things and all that. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I can touch on some SEO as well. What's your URL?
It's In Nature, which is 3 N's, INNNATURE.com.
And NE.com, you said, like New England?
No, in INN.
Got that.
And then Nature, NATURE.
Oh, okay. RE, sorry.
Yeah.
And then .com. All right. So, and Liz, did you have anything specific? If you just want to, there we go. Want to know how to use blocks and Jetpack. Half my pages are on my site or either or, and makes sense. All right. All right, so let me talk a little bit about.
We got one more too, Nicole.
Oh, yep, I see her.
She's coming.
All right, I'm gonna get her in as well.
Yeah, I had to get to an email to send her the link again.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm going to start just by doing a very basic thing here, and we'll get logged into a website. So actually, I am logged into a website here, so I'm just going to use this one as our piece.
Okay.
Here's the front end. Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
I'm just going to move my pictures over here and see if we can see everybody. All right. So I apologize, I'm not looking at the camera as I talk, because hopefully you guys can all see my screen. Can everybody see the screen that I'm sharing? Acumen Data Systems. All right.
I see it as a thumbnail. I don't see it as a full screen.
I don't know enough about Zoom from that standpoint.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Gotcha.
You got it? Okay. All right, so if everybody can see that, that's what I'm going to be working on, and that is on another monitor, so that's why I'm looking this way and not at the camera. All right, so this is a company that we actually just launched this website 2 days ago for this client. And so I'm going to show you just a little bit. Actually, I'm going to log out here just to give you guys kind of like a brief. My phone is here someplace. I just heard it ding. Let me make sure that's not
What am I doing?
somebody else asking to get in. All right. It is not. Okay. All right. So if you're logging into your WordPress, it's always going to be just your URL and then WP admin. I know it sounded like a couple of you guys actually are doing your WordPress at WordPress.com. And I want to start out by making sure that everybody understands. So WordPress is a software, which is actually WordPress.org, and it's a free software. WordPress.com is actually a hosting company in and of itself. So it's pseudo free. They do have free versions, but they also have paid versions. I don't usually tell clients if they're running a business to host their website on WordPress.com. I usually tell them to find some sort of outside hosting, just because WordPress.com is a little limiting on what else they allow you to do. They give you some nice features because they have some other free themes and things you can use, but they are a little bit limited as well. So I just wanted to mention that if you are on WordPress.com, you can always move your site off of WordPress.com to an actual hosting company. And we can talk about that more if you have questions, but I'm not going to get too deep into that.
I have a question, Paul. So
Yep.
Mine is on .com right now.
Yeah.
My account. But I have a hosting company separate from that. Would you recommend me doing a WordPress.org to actually create the site?
Well, so WordPress.org is just where you download the software. So
I see.
So if you have an outside hosting company like a GoDaddy or Bluehost or SiteGround, any of those, or we offer hosting as well for our clients, or one of the things that I've offered up to the group before when I've done classes is getting you set up on WordPress, moving your site over where we host it for you, and just giving you that extra little help up to get going and things as well. So we can talk a little bit more about that at the end, but I do suggest not doing a business site on WordPress.com. Part of the reason, and especially actually in your case, the one thing that you sign in the little thing that you agree where you sign your soul away, specifically with WordPress.com, is WordPress.com owns all of your content.
Wow.
If you host with them. So it's something in the way that they originally set up, because it was a competitor originally to Blogger. if you remember Google's Blogger, and everybody was doing free blogs on Blogger, and Google did the same thing. If your blog was on Blogger, your content all actually belonged to Google. So technically, whether that ever comes into play, I'm sure there have been cases where it has, but it's just one of those things where I don't like to ever get into that, and I'd hate to get into a thing where you write content that all of a sudden, WordPress.com says, well, that belongs to us, and that now it's our intellectual property. So, like I said, I really like to try to avoid that. It's worth paying for good hosting. It gives you abilities you're just never going to have with WordPress.com. WordPress.com limits certain plugins that you can install and things, and maybe rightly so. It keeps you from installing things that can hurt your website. I know. It does give you some other features that are helpful. Liz mentioned Jetpack, which is very helpful. The hosting that we offer, Jetpack isn't included for free, and that one of the nice things about Jetpack is it also, at least with our hosting, is it also offers backup, so that's a nice feature. With our hosting, we also offer this thing that I just was installing on another site before I started this, and that's this WPMU Dev. It's a subscription that we have not a developer license, like an agency license. So we install this on every site that we do, and it adds in plugins for things like SEO. It does backups. It automates all your plugin updates for the site. Has an uptime monitor, which is going to tell you if your site's up. It sends off an email if the site goes down. Does some performance stuff, and then also installs a security thing to make sure that there's nothing, so that your site can't get hacked. So all these things are, always helpful. And one thing that I like about doing stuff like this is, one thing you got to be really careful with WordPress is with installing plugins. So, Michelle, you had mentioned, and I think Sarah, you had mentioned being worried about your website. I will tell you, in general, you don't have to be worried about editing your website. What you always have to be worried about is things like installing a plugin that corrupts the website and crashes it, or doing an update to the software that crashes it. And so that's where it's nice to have, something like this set up, because like this has this thing I was saying earlier about for automating updating plugins. But the thing is, when this runs an automated plugin, it also runs a backup of the site before that. So if there's ever a problem, it automatically rolls back to the last version of the site too. So, these are all just nice features, and kind of, in general, you want to have your website as like worry-free as possible. When I've taught these other classes for the Hilltown, or for Michelle, I've always tried to stress that, because in almost every class, the concern was always, all these different things, just make my website complicated. And so when I try to teach this stuff and I try to show you these little tricks, everything we do as a web development business is designed so, and as much so for us as a web development business as anything, is I want all that other technical stuff, while I can do it, I want it to be as hands-free and as, I don't want to log on and go, man, this is complicated. I want to log on, I want to change stuff, I want to add a page about, the fogging thing, or I want to add that, and I want to get out and be done, right? And so you want to concentrate on, in Rona, your case, you may want to write, and so you just want to get on and write. You don't want to worry about all the technical parts of how do I do this and how do I do that. You want to be able to do stuff simply. I'm going to show you with this site that we're logged into here. This is a great example of doing that exactly. So I'm going to open the front end of this in another tab. I've worked with this company for years. I just recently kind of re-engaged with them and redid the site here. But I've probably done 3 or 4 different versions of the site. When I first started working with this company, they had an HTML site, and they had 150 web pages. which is a lot of content and is a lot of maintenance and was just unbelievably overwhelming. When we started working on this site, we've actually had meetings on this site for probably 4 months now, trying to figure out a good way to balance their content and things. And in doing so, what we did is they still have a ton of content, but we took and basically boiled down their main web pages now to basically 3 web pages. Well, 4 web pages counting the main page. So we have a main page, we have a page about time clock software. You'll notice that none of these have drop downs. And part of that is just because so many people are browsing the web now, mobile and things like that. The more kind of pages and subpages and everything else you have, the more confusing it can be. You know, and you want to tell the whole story. You want to talk about the services you have, but sometimes, you know, especially today, you don't have to tell as big a story as you used to, I think. Sometimes it's just about making sure people understand what you're trying to get across. I mean, Rona, in your case, is going to be a little bit different. Obviously, you're telling, you know, you're telling stories and things like that. So you've got longer pieces, but as far as like managing the content, you still want to keep that simple. So I'm going to show you in this site particularly how we manage that content simply. And so I'm going to start out just kind of by going through the framework here, so that you understand the thought process, because this is actually, believe it or not, this is the hardest part. So when you sit and look at your website and you're like, oh, you're just giving me a headache just even thinking about it. Part of that can be, and I gotta be honest, I still have websites that I manage that I have the exact same problem with. And sometimes it just takes time to wrap your head around the best way to organize your content. And so in this case, what we ended up doing was we said, okay, at the end of the day, these guys really have 3 main products, and that's it. Everything else is really just a subset of those products. So the main page of their site kind of goes through and tells people right off the bat, this is what we do, kind of talks about those products, and it's doing that in kind of sections. So this is, you know, the kind of the way we design websites now, where you've got little sections with a little snippet, and then we're linking off to specific stuff inside the page, but somebody can browse through this on their computer, or it shrinks down and they can browse it on mobile, and it's still a clean process.
Excuse me, Paul.
Yep.
I don't know why, but now you're just a little tiny block, and I can't get the whole thing on my screen so that I can see your mock-up there.
What I'm showing you?
Yeah, I don't know what I did.
I'm not exactly sure either, because the problem is that I don't actually see that window of me presenting. Does anybody else know that is looking at this, how to make that screen bigger?
Oh, maybe. I found it.
Did you find it?
Yeah, I have to drag it open from the corner.
Okay. All right.
So,
That's okay.
thank you.
So like I was saying, so basically by kind of talking about the products here, then we've actually, you know, at first glance, we've talked about everything they do right on their homepage, right? And then we can go into deeper, and these link into these same pages. They just link into sections on these pages, but time clock software, I know this is not an exciting topic, but and then so on these pages we kind of do the same thing, and we just have brief little things, little snippets of information about what they do. The reason I wanted to kind of show you this is, like I said, so we really boiled it down to the 3 main things. We do have extra stuff, so they have some add-on features and stuff, but we put all that down in the bottom because it's not as important to them. They're trying to sell certain things. It's their bread and butter. For years, though, they've complicated it by saying we do all of these things. And they do, but until you bring somebody into the company to begin with and get them engaged, it doesn't matter that they do all those other things. So we did that, but at the end of the day, so that was part of taking the 150 pages down to really 3 or 4 main pages. But then the other thing we did is we took, and this fits more for Rona probably than anybody else, but maybe a little bit for other people. We boiled everything else down to blog posts. Okay, so everybody's familiar with blog posts. WordPress started as a blogging platform. I'm going to explain why. Okay, so blog posts are what we call, or we refer to as aggregated content, right? So if I search on, any kind of news story, COVID-19 and masks, I don't know. I'm sure I'll get a million stories on this. And these are probably all going to be blog posts. So not Mayo Clinic, there's a nice news story. WebMD. WebMD is full of things that are really just posts because they're really just stories. Okay, so this is an article on WebMD. They've got a lot of other things going on because these are all other posts that they've got out there. But the point of a post is, and when I say it's aggregated content, so I'm going to go back over to this. What aggregated content is it's a snippet of content. It's like an article. If you think of about a magazine article or an article now that you read on the website, it's that piece of content. But that piece of content can be used a million different ways. So what was happening was, I'm going to go to this Expert Insights, and we're going to see the way, we're pulling their blog content in a certain way here. But a lot of these, before we redid their website, these were all pages, okay? But if you look at it, so this is working from home, remote employee time tracking. Again, not an exciting subject, but it's important for all this stuff, and this is something new, obviously, for right now. So if you look at all these things, these are all kind of stories, or they're articles. They're talking about their software. They're talking about advantage of their software and things. But if you really tried, and this was the struggle that we had for the first couple months we were trying to work with these guys, is say, how do we put all this stuff, where are we going to categorize each of these things under your products? So now all of a sudden we have this maze of pages that nobody can understand and nobody can find their way through, because these are all good subjects and it's all good content. But we just, we had no way to present it in the overall format. So using blog posts, they're very simple. It's still a web page as far as you're concerned, but the nice thing is you can just think about it in a much shorter, more straightforward fashion, right? So I'm not trying to present the information. I'm trying to present the information in a more storytelling fashion. So it's just two ways of thinking about it. So the reason I wanted to show you that is because then when we get to the back end of the site, it just becomes very important in how you structure your content. So let me bring up actually one of your sites right now. So Rona, you said yours right now is HTML, which I can't even imagine how you would convey what you do in an HTML site, because it'd be so hard to keep updated and everything else. So
well, I don't know HTML. Someone back in the 90s did this for me, and the only thing I know how to update is my calendar, which is really just a list. It's not really a true calendar.
Right.
And I don't have any video. I do have one piece of audio on it. That's all.
Okay. So in your case, the blog functionality is probably going to be 90% of your stuff. So let's just see. So you got a welcome page.
And that's pretty much all my information. Like all my information is on that welcome page.
Calendar.
Keep scrolling.
All right. So
there it is.
Okay.
And I do that. I should make those changes through iPage, which is my hosting company.
Okay. Yep. I have not seen iPage in a long time, but I do remember them. All right. Performances. Is this basically a calendar as well? Or this is supposed to be linking someplace down on a page?
Yeah, it's supposed to, well, there is performances further down, but again, it's so old that it's not even really up to date at this point.
Okay. So, you know, in your
I mean,
case,
some of it is, I did a few things.
yeah. So in your case, it really depends, right? If you're wanting to put some of your content out there, you know, doing that in blog posts may be the easiest way. Michelle, in your case, let's pull up your site here and let's see how it's structured. You said this was set up originally as a.
I have not done any blogging. I have been told to, and I just have not gotten into it. So we don't have, yeah, I don't have any blogging, and I wouldn't even know how to get started.
So one thing that I want to tell you guys is people are always going to say, you should do blogging. You should do
Right.
blogging, right? Not necessarily. Okay. And don't necessarily think about it as blogging. That's kind of what I wanted to, you know, get you guys to understand what this is. This is not them blogging. This is them actually writing content about their products. It just fits more in a storytelling format and is much easier to do. What I did with them is so this is a bunch of, oh great, I got unstable internet. Can you guys still get me?
You're cutting out a tiny bit.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So sorry, I was just reading Nicole's
Oh, good. I thought you.
note there.
Don't stop.
No, I did not freeze.
That's funny. Yeah, you.
So like I said, with these guys, what it was is these guys have a really easy time like writing and talking about their software and kind of the importance of their software and stuff. What they struggle with is doing that from a salesy standpoint, right? So when you're writing a page for the website, it can be tough because you really got to you're trying to do that salesy thing. You're trying to convey a certain message. But if you do some of that stuff in blog posts, you can do it much more in a conversational, you know, like you would write an email or whatever. And it's okay because I don't know what's going on. I might have to make the kids stop doing whatever they're doing online.
They're gaming, yep.
They probably are. It's pretty much been, it's supposedly they're doing schoolwork, but I'm not sure that's the case.
Yep. Same here.
So, you know, let's just jump over to your site real quick. So, you know, one of the easy ways to do like your services sometimes on a site would be to actually do those services as blog posts. It's a real easy way to organize it because it's not pages like this.
So if you scroll down, you can see those services, but I don't know if I can attach anything to that. See, like there's a little write-up and it does go see more to pages, but I don't ever add to it. I mean, the only thing I added, if you scroll down,
sorry.
That's okay. So when I tell you that I've done very little, like I can change, like if I had to change an email, I can do that. I have put in newer, which I haven't done lately. And then I just added I changed some wording on the front page. On our services, I add a little to our sewage service, but that's about all I'm willing to do at this point.
I'm just gonna text my sons to, oh, now I'm echoing. This is awesome. I'm gonna text my sons and tell them they gotta stop gaming. Where are they? They're there. All right. So yeah, so in your case, it looks to me like your website's probably put together with some sort of builder, which probably makes it a little bit tougher to work in. I'm gonna show you that over here. So I'm gonna show you guys two things. So I know Liz, you had mentioned the you had mentioned the blocks and things like that. So I'm going to show you in other classes I've shown everybody this, we use a, somebody mentioned Avanto earlier. So Avanto is actually a company that does a ton of plugins and themes and stuff like that. One of the big ones that they sell that we actually use for almost all of our sites, and it's a theme / framework. So in some cases you guys might have seen or used or see in your own website because somebody else built it, a thing called Visual Builder, I think it's called, by WP Bakery. There's Elemento that I know in some of these classes I've talked to people use is a big one. And then we use Avada, which uses the Fusion Builder. So these are nice tools for building websites, but they can be a little overwhelming for somebody that's not really familiar with this stuff. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to show you a post on this website because, again, so this was a complication with these guys in this business is they're all very technical, they're all very smart, but when it came to having to build pages with all the technical parts of the builder for this website, they got very I guess freaked out about it and couldn't necessarily it was always a block, right? It always made them go, oh, I need to work on the website, and then they'd log in and go, I don't have time for this, and they go to something else, which I'm sure you guys feel all the time. So this is what I want to show you. So to make this easier for them, we did the posts, and this is why. So this is how easy posts can be, is they can be very simple because they're in that conversational format and they're really just simple. So this is just one of these, and it's loading really slow. Really slow.
So Paul, while that's loading, with these other things that you mentioned, the Visual Builder and Elemento, those are competitors of Avanto?
So I'm not sure when somebody said Avanto exactly what to use. So Avanto is a company that builds or that sells themes. Yeah. So this is Avanto. Actually, this is not Avanto.
There it is.
This is not what I'm thinking of. So theme.
Oh no, actually, you're right.
That's not it. So Theme Forest is one of the Avanto companies. So I've got a Avanto Market. So
Yeah, that's
so this is it. So these guys sell themes. They sell everything. So like I said, so Avada I actually buy and license through these guys. But so yeah. So those others are there are other builder things. I like Avada. So Avada is a theme, right? When you think of a WordPress theme, but then it's really a framework. And when I say framework, what it means is kind of all the plugins you need for basic things are just built into it, so you don't have to add more plugins to your website. Because like I mentioned earlier, it's the plugins that are the scary things that make your website more complicated. So if those things just exist, it makes it much easier. I got to imagine on this one, on your site here, the LipTac one, that those things kind of exist already.
Right.
I'm going to let me just bring up some of the other ones here so I can click between all of them.
We use GoDaddy and we do it through WordPress.
Okay.
So is that what that would be? We use GoDaddy instead of Avanta?
No, so GoDaddy is just your hosting company.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know who
1, 2, 3.
Who the guy who created our site, what he used. Would I see that when I go into WordPress? I'd see it up there on the left.
I can show you. Hold on. Western Mass Hilltown Hikers.com. Oh, there's your site. I don't know why it didn't come up to begin with. Okay. Is that one coming up?
Yep.
And Michelle or Nicole, where was yours here? Canines and felines.com. All right. So Nicole, so you were asking whether everybody created their own websites in WordPress. Some people had mentioned that they had them created for them. Some have created them. Your website, Nicole, is this in WordPress now? We've got it up right now. Can you hear me, Nicole?
Yep.
There it is.
It's a cookie cutter program. All right. So site control. Okay. So yeah, so any of these WordPress or any of these sites can be built in WordPress. Like I said, it's really just a matter of finding a theme or a framework and then building from there. So the nice thing with it, and I'm sure the site control thing might have that. I know some of the other website builder programs out there. GoDaddy has their website tonight, things like that. They're nice. What I like about using WordPress as opposed to any of as opposed to some of the other ones is just the fact that basically you can take it with you, if that makes sense. So if you go and if you're on GoDaddy and build a website with their GoDaddy website tonight, or one of the ones I really hate is when people get suckered into the one with from hang on, it's the guy Vistaprint. So Vistaprint does websites, and they've got their own little builder, and they make it look really easy and everything, and they'll give you a free domain name. Well, guess what? If you go to leave Vistaprint, you have nothing to take with you. So if you decide, hey, I don't like working with Vistaprint, you don't have a website that you get to take with you. And what's even worse is that free domain name now costs you $50 to get from them. So to get it away. So it's nice to just go out and buy your domain name. You own your domain name. Nobody can they can't take it from you as long as you make sure you keep paying for it every year. And then you own your website. And that way you can kind of move from host to host. I move sites to our hosting all the time for people. I move sites from our hosting. It all depends on what the client really is looking to do. But it's nice because you've got that WordPress package. You can package it up and you can move it someplace else and start with somebody new and not lose anything. One of the other nice things. So your site's pretty good, Nicole, for being 13 years old, I would say. It looks like it's very straightforward. I think one of the things that you may be suffering from is the thing I started talking about earlier, is just you get to a point where you've got so many things that it's hard for anybody to see everything that's going on. I'm sure that you guys with Lip Tech here, same thing. You've got a services list that's huge, and it's all important, right? But it makes it really tough sometimes for people to understand and find the service that,
Right.
that you have.
So if I was to start blogging, would I add another tab?
Yeah, you would probably add another tab, and in that case, you could do a bunch of blogging, I would think. And again, it's kind of tough, but you'd
There is plenty I could say. I just
Yeah.
haven't got into it because
Right.
I'm chicken. I mean, I know it's not hard, and once you get started, you do it, but I just haven't done it.
The question for you, so part of this comes back to thinking about everybody's individual business, right? And in your case especially, I would say, okay, is it going to matter? Because I know your business. I actually have done 2 or 3 websites in that segment for
Okay.
people, and I know that an awful lot of that business comes from insurance companies. right, and referrals.
Yep.
So as a result, your marketing dollars and your time is almost better spent making sure that all the insurance companies, send you referrals than it is because there's no
So
homeowner.
connecting with them is better than blogging because we're an emergency service.
Exactly. So in your case, you could blog all day long and SEO may work, but the important thing for you is going to be more, a little bit of SEO and being found. Like if somebody has
When an emergency happens.
when an emergency happens, are you coming up? And so, and this is an important little aside for everybody. Google My Business, right? Google My Business. Hopefully everybody has their business listed and up to date wise. Google My Business.com. Is that not?
Oh, you have to fix that for my business. I can't ever get it figured out.
All right, we'll work on that. All right. Evidently, it's not GoogleMyBusiness.com. I was just type it in.
There it is. Yep.
There it is. Oh, it's Google.com/business. So if you have not, made sure that you claimed your business over here, this is all free.
Mhm.
This is your Google local listing. So if I, do a search for printers in Chicopee, which is where I'm at. So these are your Google local listings, right? So, this is us right here. This is my other company. And we're coming up first, mainly because we're the closest probably to where I actually live. But, this listing, so if I click on that, it should give me the more detailed view. There it is. So all of this information, this is all really important to have in there, have some pictures of your business, things like that. I know it kind of got off subject there, but this for Lip Tech, for In Nature Bed and Breakfast, also very important for you, right? Because we're talking about, people finding stuff. And these things are hugely important on mobile. So in the case of Lip Tech, somebody is going to be on their phone, right? Because they've had an emergency. They're most likely using this. They're not sitting down at their computer going, "Oh, let me find somebody as I'm sitting in the water in my basement," right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So this is really important to that mobile thing. In the case of like your bed and breakfast, same sort of thing, I would think. Mobile is really important. Same thing, Rona, a little bit for you for events and things. Again, people view that via the phone. Nicole, I would probably say your business is a lot of mobile. So having that Google My Business thing set up right for you is important. So like I said, that was an aside, but it's an important part of your web development as a whole as well, is making sure that you've done that. Just because it's free, why not? So you basically Google yourself. This is our print shop, Pigeon Press. So if you Google your own business, oops, don't do it on the map, do it on the main Google search right here. So Pigeon Press. And it's going to come up on the, oops. I keep pointing with my pencil, and I know you guys, that really doesn't help you guys at all. So I did Pinch and Press, and actually in my case, because it's mine, I get the stuff I can edit right here. But so you see it here. If this is your business and you've claimed it, you're going to get to edit your business information. If not, it's going to say, "Is this your business? Claim it." Okay, and you would just click it. They either send you a postcard or they call you and you claim it. So, but this worth $1 million because Google is the source for all this stuff. So
How do you get your thing to come up at the top like that? How do you actually get onto that?
Well, in my case, it's because I Googled the actual business. The reason I came up on top, I think over here, it's partly location based, right? So because I live off of Grattan Street, not that far, this is of these that it showed me, and I did because I did printers in Chicopee, Mass. So these are the geographically closest. So in that case, that's why I'm first. If I were to do, so this is another one of my clients. Let's do this. So tinting. Let's just do tinting near me. So it's going to, again, geographically locate it. Now in this case, there's all kinds of tinting companies, but Mr. Tint of America is my client, and we've done a lot of work to make sure that they are higher in this. So, you know, in your case, Rona, it's a little bit tougher because, you know, it's not something specific that people are looking for. Actually,
Well, it's not a product, although I do sell a CD. But you know, that doesn't mean people aren't looking for storytellers or storytelling.
right.
But is it true that when you put new content on or make changes, that it brings you higher up on the pecking order?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'll get back. Why don't I actually touch on that for a little bit? I know I jump all over the place when I teach these things, but I know so much stuff that sometimes I have a hard time controlling it. And that's a great question that I'll just cover for SEO. So I kind of covered this. This Google Local thing is very important for all of your businesses. SEO, I'm just going to give you a brief thing because I could teach an entire class on SEO as well. SEO is simple, okay? It seems very complicated, but what Google is trying to do is Google is just trying to produce results for what people are looking for, okay? So that was a lot of this. If I go back and I'm showing you the time clock company here, you know, part of it is, and there's some tools you can go on Google, but I'm just going to bring up, do I have it up here? Let's see if I still have the window up. I don't. I'm going to bring up another window here. I have a tool that we use for clients called Seo Profile. This is a paid tool, but I'm just going to show you real quick. One of the biggest thing you got to do for SEO is figure out what people are looking for, right? So going back to this, and we can look for a couple of your things as well. But so Acumen Data Systems does time clocks, okay? They, for years, said that important thing was time and attendance, okay? And attendance. So I can put these words in, and this is going to go out and it's going to ping Google, and it's going to say, okay, this is what Google thinks you know, the search volume is on a monthly basis for those terms. And it gives me associated terms as well. So time and attendance, here's, you know, time and attendance ADP, you know, which is another company, SUNY time and attendance. What actually happens with time and attendance in particular for them, and this was their keyword for the past, I'm going to say 10 years, this is what they used. They said time and attendance, that's what people are searching for. The problem is, by the time I get here, so the first two results, ADP is another software company. SUNY, though, is SUNY New York, right? It's a school. And when they're talking about time and attendance, they're talking about like attendance numbers. It's like the big E attendance numbers, right? And time and things like that. So it's not the same thing. But those are the top searches. And so you see the search volume here. So you know, you're talking 4,000. So we said, okay, let's look at that. And I said, well, aren't you guys really about timekeeping? Right? So we typed in the word timekeeping. And look at that. So now timekeeping is 11,000 searches. So versus the 4,000 searches a month for the other thing, timekeeping is bigger. Even bigger yet ends up being the term time clock or time clocks, right? Because that's what people really think about. If you're buying software to do this, is really about punching that time clock, right, or time cards or whatever. And look at that. search volume for time clocks is 100,000 in a month. So let's see, which would I rather have my keywords on my website be about? Should they be about time and attendance that is only 4,000? And part of that is not really about what I do anyway. That may be attendance for the big E, not they're not keeping track of employees, or time clocks. And so if we go back to this site real quick, you'll see, what do we recall the software? It's not time and attendance software anymore. It's called time clock software, because that's what it is, and that's what people are looking for. So if I went to each of your businesses real quick, Sarah, bed and breakfast. I don't think that one's too complicated. If I'm looking for a bed and breakfast, I'm looking for a bed and breakfast, and so I would just go here and I go bed and breakfast. And you don't have to have this tool to do this. The other thing you can just do is Google it. So bed and breakfast right there, 115,000. That's a pretty good search term, I would say, if there's that many searches in a month. And this is US wide, so this is not the world. This particular tool does the US. It can't get more granular for that because it does some stuff that can be more granular, but it's not going to give you average searches more
What
than
if
that.
you put rooms? If you just put rooms, I
Like-
mean, I'm just curious to
Yep.
see if it has the same volume.
Like rooms for rent or just rooms, period?
I don't know. I mean, try one and then the other, I guess.
So I think just rooms. So rooms gets very, very broad, right?
Now, rooms to go is furniture, so
Right, exactly. So it gets a lot of searches. Escape rooms gets a lot of searches. Look at that,
Yeah.
700.
wow.
Rooms
So
to rent.
Rooms to rent would be the
Rooms
Yeah.
to rent.
yeah, it's way down there. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's still 195 searches.
Yeah.
So this is just a good tool, and we can do another class at some
Sorry.
That's okay. Do another class just on kind of this stuff. Rona, in your case, storytelling or storyteller, is that one word, teller?
Mhm.
Storyteller, online storyteller, storyteller online, storyteller. So those are all pretty good. There are searches on this. We would want to look at narrowing that down maybe to specifically what you're doing, but just the thing here that's funny, and I always like to tell this story. It probably embarrasses the guy that does it, but I have a client that's a wedding photographer. Okay, and all I really do for him, so I've always just really met with him. I kind of got him started. I've never actually designed his website. He's always done it himself, but he does wedding photography. So if I do wedding photographer, Western Mass, okay, and we search on that. First couple are ads. Then we've got the Google local. Portraits by David here is actually one of my clients. He's listed first there and coming up. You'll see he's right here too. So the Knot is a national publication. Portraits by David is the first one that comes up. My other client, the one I'm going to talk about specifically, is Greg Moss Photography. His business is less than 5 years old. He's number 2 right now when you search that. The reason being is, and this was a silly thing, but when he first designed his website, do you know what he did not have on his website? The word wedding photographer. So he talked about, doing beautiful pictures and, a bride and blah, blah, blah. But guess what? Nobody's searching on bride. They're not searching on beautiful bride pictures. They're searching for a wedding photographer, right? So in every one of your cases, the things you want to remember when you're talking about SEO is doing, the words for your business. So let me go over here. So in your case, let's try holistic pet food for you, Nicole. Where was my window here? There it is. That might be a little granular. We could just search on pet food too. So holistic pet food is pretty narrow. And so you see the results there. There's only about 340 searches a month on that. Can you turn that light off? That's okay. Did you get what you needed? All right. Sorry about that. You can turn it back on if you need it for a minute. Sorry. Here. So in your case, let's just go back to pet food because I gotta imagine. Oh, grooming is easier. Okay. But the retail is harder for sure. Yeah. So pet food is going to be huge. I got to imagine. And pet food near me is going to be the term. Actually, pet food is not as big as I thought. Pets are a huge market online. So you would think that that would be huge. Let's look at the grooming. So I'm going to do pet grooming. There you go. Grooming pet near me, which sounds written backwards, but sometimes these searches are not what you think they're going to be. But pet grooming is 100,000 searches in a month. Again, I always take these numbers with a little grain of salt and not as absolute. So I know, Sarah, you know, we found about 100,000 searches for you on bed and breakfast. But think about this. So this is U.S. wide. So divide that by 50 states. So if we're 100,000, you know, divided by 50 states, that's say 20,000 in mass, you know, assuming things are equal. You know, if it's COVID cases, we get more than everybody else, but we don't necessarily get searches on Google more than everybody else. Say it's 20,000, and then let's break that down to, you know, we're Western Mass versus Eastern Mass that gets, you know, all the money from the state. So let's say we only get a quarter of that. That's still, though, 5,000 searches. So that's not bad. And it doesn't take us a lot of those searches, right, to book up all your rooms at your bed and breakfast. It doesn't take a lot of, you know, 100,000 or 125,000, you know, or quarter of that if it's 5,000 people. It doesn't take a lot of those to have you, you know, booked up for grooming, right, for your business. So that's a great question, Nicole. I will tell you the keywords. So when you put keywords on a page, that is almost completely useless in today's day and age. Okay. So let me get back to this. So now that we've kind of talked about keywords a little bit, and I kind of have covered most everybody's thing. Liz, I'll definitely get back to your question about doing the blocks and stuff here in a second. Let me show you this. So I do have a tool installed on this, and this comes with the WPMU dev thing that I showed you. So this is one of their posts, okay? Time tracking, whatever it's called. A lot of words. So I have the site crawl tool plugged on here, and what this does is this actually does a measurement. So this is, it has your meta keywords, so your title for it. In this case, it's just pulling the same title as the thing, your description. And that's when you're on Google, it's this, right? It's this piece is your title. This is your description for the page, okay? The keywords that you're referring to, Nicole, which are the meta keywords, you can put those in still. They have almost zero bearing on Google, okay? And so this is why I wanted to talk about this. This all, what happens is, it's got to be about what the page is about. Okay. So I'm going to go off of this one real quick. I'm going to just go to one that I edited for these guys because they're trying to do it overly complicated here on that one. Let me just find a post that's easier. Healthcare. I did a healthcare one. You remember I mentioned earlier that they had hundreds of pages. Now they have hundreds of posts, but it's much easier to manage the content this way because these can be put wherever, because now it's just a title and you can read about it, but I don't have to try to figure out where that fits in a navigation hierarchy, right? It's just out there. And this is all good content for search. Well, it's good content until you can't find any. Let me just type in the word healthcare here. really? Oh, you got to type health, you gotta spell it correctly. All right, this one, time tracking for okay, so I did the SEO on this one, and come on. Hopefully you guys can still see me since the internet's not working there. Healthcare, come on. Yes, it does. I just can't get the internet to work, period here. Oh, I was clicking on the wrong thing, so that didn't help. I was clicking on the category, so it just keeps showing me the same category because it's like, I'm showing you what you want to be seen. All right, so here's my actual post again. So I'm back, I'm in WordPress. This is my post, okay? So title, what they call a permanent link for the thing, and my content that's going to appear here. It's going to appear here very slowly. There it is. Okay, so there's my content. So what this tool does, and what's great about some of these tools, so this is like I said, Smart Crawl comes with it. There's one this readily available plugin called Yoast, does the same thing. And what this really does is this just tests your page for the keywords you think you need to find, right? So earlier we said, for these guys, timekeeping was a good keyword. So all this tool does is, as I type in the keyword timekeeping, and it is now going to grade my page based on the word timekeeping, okay?
What's this program called, Paul?
So this one in particular is called Smart Crawl, but you guys probably want to look up Yoast. So it's Y-O-A-S-T. So it's like toast that starts with a Y. It's a free plugin. This Smart Crawl is actually part of that WPMU dev that I've got the subscription for. So all my clients have that. But what this is doing is this is really the way you got to do SEO now. So it's not really just about putting stuff on the page. It's using a tool like this and putting in timekeeping. And Nicole, where your site is not WordPress, there are some websites that do this as well, where you type in a word, it'll grade the page and tell you roughly, what's good and what's bad. So what this is going to do is it's going to tell me the things I've done good. So over here, I'm going to have an overall grade. It says needs improvement. I got a yellow. That's because I got one thing wrong. So, come on, I got all these green and I still got a needs improvement. Anyway, so what it is it's saying, so one thing you don't want to do is I can't have 1 million pages with just the keyword timekeeping because Google's going to ding me for that, right? Google dings you for everything. But that's what it's giving me is a bad thing. But so this is what it's going to grade me on. It's going to grade me on that my keyword is in my title. Okay, so content contains keywords. So I go back to the title of my post, time tracking. My first tag here says timekeeping. So if I go down here, that was my timekeeping. All right, good job. I use timekeeping in here a bunch of times. So timekeeping, right? So all over this page, wherever I can, I'm using the word timekeeping. That all makes a big difference. So if I go back to your bed and breakfast here, right? So yes, it's called bed and breakfast here, but yep. So no place on this page, Sarah, does it say bed and breakfast. Oh, I can't hear you. Hold on. Let me unmute you. I can't unmute you. You must have yourself mute. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I know, and probably the rest of the pages don't have it either.
Exactly. So same thing. Let's go over to let's go to yours, Nicole. So in your case, so you probably have a product or you've got grooming over here. But let's look at the front page. So this is a little bit tough. You do have grooming here. That's good. So this is actually, let me show you this other tool. And there's other tools out there that are free for this. So we were looking at the suggestion tool, but there's this thing called a keyword density analyzer, which sounds very complicated. But all this does is I can actually put in, I'm going to put in yours, Nicole. All right. And so all this does is, so I'm going to put in your homepage, and I'm going to put in, let's see, so the keyword appears at least 2 times on the page, and I like to do, well, we'll do 1 to 3 word phrases, okay? So what this is going to do is going to analyze your front page, and it's going to tell me what Google thinks your site is about, okay? So based on the number of times the word is on the page, your site is about pet, grooming, store, holistic, groomer, food, health. So that's not bad, right? Dog. You mentioned cats earlier, right? So one thing I would say is cat not well represented on your homepage for what you're about. You got cat, felines. So, but frequency wise, pet, you know, the word is 29 times on the page. Let's do a, let's actually do, I'm going to jump to lip tech because we haven't looked at that one for a little bit. So let's go to the home page here and let's see what this site is about. So this is only analyzing the one page. Okay. Understand that it's not analyzing your whole site. But that front page is the important one for Google, because while the other pages are important, if it's not on the front page, it, you know, in some form or fashion, it doesn't help you much. And the only reason I'm spending a lot of time on this is because we can talk about, you know, doing stuff on WordPress. Here, I'm going to put my email in here. Rona has to scoot. If you have questions, please email me later. If I, you know, because I know I'm covering a lot of stuff, and I know I'm not necessarily solving everybody's problems, but it's a little hard to do it, you know, solve everybody's individual problems. But please email me. I'd be happy to talk to you and see if we can work out your particular one. So, yes, Nicole, it is true that you don't want to have Flash on your homepage. Well, for one, mobile phones and stuff don't use Flash. Flash has pretty much been discontinued for like Chrome. The Chrome browser doesn't do Flash anymore. So yeah, so you really don't want to have that, and it's not good for SEO. So I'm just going to do this real quick. Let's run this. The reason I'm spending a lot of time on this is all very important, because before you start editing anything or doing anything, knowing these keys to the way you're writing and everything on these pages is really, really important. So, you know, in your case, basically, the company name is mentioned 100 times, so that's good. If somebody is browsing for your name,
I'm not surprised.
Then you know, keyword density, it comes up 36 times on the homepage. So
That's funny.
Damage, you know, the big thing is, and this isn't bad 24 for reservation. Let me mention this though, and this, you know, fit for what we just looked at, Nicole, for your website as well. The one thing you got to be a little careful on though is having too many things, right?
Mhm.
Okay, because what happens is, so you look at this keyword frequency and percentage and blah blah blah, you know, lots of stats and everything. Sorry,
My boss is very thorough.
yeah. The problem becomes though. So let's say you have a page and it's like this, right? So Google looks at it and it weighs all of these things, right? And it says, okay, you know, so let's say these top things. And now if all these fit together, that's great. But if they're all divergent, right, and they're totally different things, then it becomes about nothing, right? Because if there's 100 words on the page, and there are going to be 100 words, but some of them are going to be like the, and they're not going to be keywords. But let's say there's 100 keywords on the page. When it comes to that one keyword you want to be found on, if that keyword is only on there once, it's only 1 of 100, right? So this does help, but I mean, right here, I can guarantee if I type in LipTac, this site's coming up for it, and probably in the top.
You have to know the name.
You got to know the name, you know. if I type restoration, I mean, I know if I type restoration and it's, if I don't type some sort of local keyword, like I don't type Western Mass or I don't type whatever, you guys probably aren't coming up because there's millions of restoration companies out there now.
People don't always know the word restoration though.
They don't always know that either. So you do have water and you have damage. You know, I didn't do the, well, actually, so this is also giving me combinations. Combinations can be good.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. I'm sorry if I didn't
Sarah,
get
did you see my message?
everything. What's that?
I'm asking Sarah, did you see my message before you leave? Look in chat. Oh, I can't hear you. You're muted.
Yes, thank you.
Good. You're welcome. It's cute.
Thank you.
Sarah, please, like I said, please feel free to reach out to me via email, and we can definitely talk on the phone, or just do a one-on-one, session 2 where I can talk more specifically about your business and try to give you some pointers on what to do. I mean, I got to be honest. I think you're set up well. I can show you a few pointers. Your site's simple. The bigger thing I think on your site, if just to give you a real quick comment, is could it be newer and fresher and things like that? Absolutely. I don't know if that's my internet or if it's really not coming up. Making sure things are working if that's the case. It looks like it's loading now. It's really just in your case, I'd like to just talk to you more about making sure you feel comfortable. Your site looks nice. It's very nice and clean. It looks like it presents everything it needs to present. Are there other things you could do? I'm sure there's other things you could do. But in your case, when it comes to search and stuff, it's probably about just making sure you have bed and breakfast in the pages, right? And so let me just tell you this quick thing, everybody. This is the amazing thing about that. Okay. So that site that we've been looking at, I mentioned that we just launched this 2 days ago. So this tool monitors keywords. So before we started, we were monitoring their old website. They came up for just 2 keywords that I had in this thing, period, at all. This will judge you at least in the top 100. This is 2 days later, and if you can see this, so these ones that are new, so 2 days later, 4 more keywords they're being found on. This one and this one, they're number 3 in the US in 2 days for this keyword. Number 5 for this keyword in 2 days. Now, I don't profess to know everything. And I was very amazed right before this meeting. I just emailed them and said, I'm amazed that in 2 days this happened. But that's pretty impressive. Those all went up. This keyword went up 8 spaces. This keyword that was already there went up 2 spaces in 2 days. So that's pretty amazing. So the big thing when it comes to the SEO thing is making sure you have the keywords on your site that you want to be found. And in the content. It's not so much, Nicole mentioned earlier the keywords thing and the meta tags is not so much there anymore. That used to be it. Used to be able to tell people what your site was about. It's really just about having it on your site and having those words. So, so Sarah, yeah, definitely that's it. Like I said, I'd be happy to, just walk through your particular needs on your site at some point where, either in a Zoom session or whatever, where you can show me exactly where you're struggling and I can show you that. I will go back and for a little bit longer here, just go through some of the stuff on WordPress.
Where did you put your email, Paul?
I did it in the chat. Did I not do it to everybody?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't think I did. I'm sorry. Let me do it to everybody. I think I just did it to Nicole. Paul at alias-solutions.com. So copy that down. Like I said, feel free to reach out to me. I love talking about this stuff. I always, will try to give people, whatever I can for free knowledge. we charge, I help clients do what they need to do, but in most cases, this company that we're talking about here, the biggest thing, I've been meeting with them, I've been helping them redesign this, but the whole goal was for them to manage it. It was not ever for me to manage their website. I'm doing the design work. They don't necessarily have the design eye for some of this stuff. But the bigger thing that I'm doing is just trying to help them think through how to get to where they wanted to go. And so that was a big challenge. And it's kind of why I talked about that a lot with you guys is about presenting it in the right way. If I jump over here to yours, or if I jump to Nicole's, I think you guys are presenting your content well. Nicole, I don't know if in your case, and I didn't get a touch on it nearly as much as I wanted. I don't know if it's going to help you. I know the grooming, obviously you can't do online grooming. It's probably a tough thing to do. But I didn't know if you had wanted to talk about e-commerce in particular on yours. LipTech, you're not doing e-commerce necessarily. I don't think, right? I don't think you're selling anything online. It's more of the services.
No.
That was this with bed and breakfast. You're doing reservations, or you're doing online reservations. That's kind of different than e-commerce. Or are you just doing a form? Oh, so you're just doing it by phone. You can do online reservations. That's a whole thing in and of itself. And usually there's services out there that do that stuff pretty well. So I usually just suggest finding one of those if that's the case. Or you may maybe have a system internally that just works for you guys, and that's the way to do it. I'd have to talk to you about really, how much you're booked up, how much you're not. I mean, right now I'm sure you're not booked up very much because you can't be, but that's beside the point. Liz with Hilltown, I know I've not covered your stuff. Let me go through one thing real quick on yours. So I know you probably have the bigger problem of we talked at the beginning about this, managing content. So you've got a lot of different stuff here, and probably keeping all that stuff straight is probably pretty complicated for you. And part of that may come down to, let me just look here real quick. So, because you've got like pages and subpages and more subpages and more subpages, lots of stuff. Exactly. So keeping track of all that stuff, I'm sure, is probably the biggest thing. And then on top of that, you said you're using Jetpack, and then you're using blocks. I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about with blocks. That must be a particular. That's interesting, because you must be a WordPress.com site. I'm getting I get the WordPress.com stuff from my sites over here as well. Oh yes, the new form of the classic editor, the Gutenberg editor, which I hate in WordPress. So I don't know if you guys have seen that, if you've tried to edit in these websites. I turn that off on every site, Liz, and go back to the classic editor, because this is simple for me, right? This looks like a really bad version of Microsoft Word. Liz, you install a plugin called Classic Editor. So if you find a plugin called Classic Editor, all right, thank you, Sarah. Like I said, feel free to reach out to me. If you guys are having problems with using the Gutenberg editor, install this Classic editor thing, and basically it has a setting in here where you can say just use the Classic editor, not the block editor. Will simplify your life back to normal. And I just use that all the time, because because basically then, like I said, you go back to one of these posts, and it is just simple then, right? It is, you will not lose your content. It basically just defaults back to the way it should be. Well, the way I think it should be. I know why they did it. They were trying to compete with all these things that I've shown you guys with the Avada and stuff like that. But man, this is just so much simpler because it's basically like Microsoft Word, right? Like a cheap version of Microsoft Word. You know, you type in you make it a heading. You type in your paragraph, it's a paragraph. You want it to be bold, you click bold, right? There's all the other stuff just gets to be too much, honestly. So this just makes it a lot easier to manage overall. I know, Michelle, we haven't talked really about your site at all, but same thing. You know, we're building out your new site. It's going to be just much simpler to manage for you because it's not going to be. Well, part of it is this too. I can never remember the actual URL for yours. Because it's. I always do this and then go find your website because I can't remember because it's art with R value, right?
Art with an R value.
Art
Yeah,
with
that's
an
the
R value.
Facebook page. Yeah.
Yeah, art
With
and
an
there we go.
R. Yeah,
All right.
there you go.
So you had the same problem when it comes to content. Is this site has a ton of content? It's all very confusing, but then on top of that, you know, stuff is just presented in these blocks, and you're like, okay, how do I manage all this stuff? Right, because it's just all over the screen and back and forth. And so, you know, when you had this built, you've got your nav up here, but half of your actual content that you need is all down here, right, in the footer nav. So, you know, we're fixing all that with your new site. Yours is going to be much easier for you to manage and everything. Yeah, with going back here, you know, same sort of thing. I think.
We lost you. I don't see your screen.
Oh,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, that's okay. I trust that I trust what you're doing with my site. I have a bunch of pictures to send you.
All right, so you guys can hear me, but you can't see my screen now?
Right.
Okay. Desktop share. All right, can you see it again? All right. I don't know why that happened. So now I lost my chat window though. Hold on. I gotta have that back so I can see people chatting. Too many screens here.
Yeah, we're on the easy side of this.
Liz had a good question about her jetpack. Can she edit it from her phone?
You can. Where did hang on, let me find Zoom here because I cannot see the chat at all. Zoom. This is it. I'm clicking chat and it's not showing me the chat. Window. Switch tabs. No. All right. Well, I can't see the chat. So maybe if somebody chats, it'll pop back up for me. Oh, here. It was on the participants window. There's participants. Where's chat now? Chat. There we go. I got it back. Okay. So I got to be honest, the editing from your phone, so you can install, you can do the thing with Jetpack. You can also, WordPress has a phone app. It's tough to do some of the stuff from your phone. I got to be honest. You know, because it's tough to type everything on your phone. It's tough to manage. It's a little tough to upload photos that way. You know, my iPad must be upstairs. It's a little bit easier from an iPad. There you go. You know, just being able to use the classic editor is going to make your life so much easier, period. Because I got to be honest, that block thing, I've done this for a long time, and that's still confusing for me. So, and so actually, Michelle, for you too, I don't know if that's what you're using on LibTech. Why can I not click up there again? I don't know if you're using
Which Michelle?
other Michelle.
Michelle Liptak?
Yes. So I don't know if when you're editing, do you know if you're using the block editor or if yours looks like this? Is it nice and clean and just looks like this, or is it like a just big white screen?
So usually when I go in, the main thing I usually go to is pages. So you'd have to go to that for me to see
Right.
what it looks like.
Yep.
And then it shows me all the pages. And then I usually go in that way if I'm going to do any of my editing.
Okay.
Yeah, like, so I'll see all, and I think I see it a little different. Well, no, I see it like that. So I'll click on one of those.
Right.
If I have to change any wording, that's pretty much basically where I stay.
Okay. So I don't want to show you this because if I log in, I'm going to actually see my, the Avada Fusion Builder thing. And so it's going to look completely different than what it looks like for you guys.
Right.
So I'll show you this real quick, but this is kind of nice because everything's in these blocks and you can manage it a little bit better. And Michelle, your site will be like this when we get there. Come on, scroll. But I guess my question for you, Michelle, for the LipTech site is, you know, do you see stuff like this in blocks of?
Oh, you're frozen again.
You see things in blocks like this when you go into edit?
I do,
Or do you,
like, yep, I will. I'll see it in
Okay.
blocks. And I
Okay.
can go in, like, if I wanted to change what that said right there.
right. So you would click on that and then that opens up in another little window like this and you got a
Yep, and
simpler
I'll change
editor.
that and then
Okay.
save it twice.
Yep.
Save it down below and up top.
Yep, you save there and then you got to come in here and hit update or wherever. I mean, this is probably a little bit different than what you see, but so you mentioned at the very beginning that you're always scared to do stuff. Let me tell you one secret with WordPress that most people don't know is, let me figure out where it is on my page. There's a lot of stuff on this page. So it's going to take a second, but see this revisions thing?
Yep.
WordPress keeps everything you ever do.
Nice.
So if you save and you ruin a page, all you got to do is click back to the last version of it and it's there. So
That's nice to know.
yeah, so
'Cause I
you
don't panic.
so you cannot really screw up your website.
Oh, good.
So
I think something happened, gosh, a couple months back. I went in and it was definitely screwed up and you could see words like where, when you first went into my page, where you see our picture, there was words all through it. So I think something had happened in WordPress that it was beyond, yes. So like right there where you're seeing the pictures, there was just
Yep.
words all through it. So I think maybe like you were saying, and I don't know, are they add-ins or?
yeah, it could have been a plugin that got messed up. I will tell you during this COVID thing, the hackers, just everybody is like running rampant when it comes to this. So we've had, it's just been one of the blessings that we've had in the past few weeks is in the middle of all this stuff and us being very busy trying to take care of everybody for, you know, COVID messaging and things like that.
Yeah.
We've also had a bunch of sites get hacked or get, you know, plugins get corrupted or whatever because,
Can you tell me something? I don't know if this is a quick question or not, but you saw that post, that flyer that when you first
Yep.
opened the page that comes up? I didn't do that. Is that easy to do?
I'm not exactly sure how that was done, to be honest. It looks like it's just a picture.
Yep.
It's not overly hard. We use a plugin. Let's see, where are we using that?
Because I mean, I had the guy that helps us do that, but I just didn't know if
Yeah.
how am I going to remove that when we're done? I'm going to have him remove it.
There's probably a plugin. It's probably called like a popover plugin or something like that. We use one.
Okay.
The Zima's Nursery, we're doing it over here. Where's the main page? Here, this will take me there. So we installed one on this. Does kind of the same thing. So the page loads very slowly. And
Only because your kids are playing games.
they're not supposed to be. They said they weren't. So this I think is just Charter is being ridiculous now. Okay, it doesn't pop up. Why is it? It's just doing this just to annoy me.
Yep.
Oh, actually, you know what? I apologize. This may be not doing it because the plugin that we use specifically on this, I got a really good one that basically the message comes up, but does not come up every time. So it depends on how I set the thing, you know, so that like in your case, every time I go to the homepage, I get that COVID message. Well,
Right.
you know, after a while I get it, I don't need to see it anymore. So this plugin has that ability, and I do have that turned on. So the first time people come to it, it comes
But if
up.
they keep going to it, it
And,
won't.
and I think I've got it set to maybe like every day or every other day it'll come back up, but it doesn't keep coming every time I go to the site. So once I've been to the site, and I've probably been to the site today already, so that's why I'm not seeing it again. But yeah, it's usually pretty easy to turn off. It's funny because I've not used those pop-up things in forever on websites, and now all of a sudden I've got
it. Like in a plugin on the in the plugin area.
Yeah, it's gonna be a plugin. Actually, I can probably tell you real quick exactly what you're going to be looking for. Let me look.
I don't know if anybody else has any questions. I don't want to take too much time.
Hold on. View page source.
But it's neat that you can put something on there that's kind of temporary and then remove it later. I like that idea.
Yeah, it's handy. Sorry, it's just taking me. I'm just reading through all these things. So you are using the Enfold theme, if you wanted to know.
Oh, is that what we're using?
And
what's it called?
Enfold is the name of the theme.
Okay, Enfold.
So,
yeah.
Sorry, my internet's getting unstable again. I'm not seeing it right here. It's in this code someplace, but I'm just not seeing it.
Okay, that's okay.
So, but yeah,
like I said, if there's an easy question.
Yeah, I would just look for pop-up plugins, something that says that on the side. It'll be typically those things will be.
Well, I might be emailing you because it would be much better, obviously, if we learned how to manage our own site.
Absolutely.
We just when I talked about the words through our pages, we actually hired the guy that created it to kind of maintenance it. And, and that's what he's been doing. So if we didn't need him, then we could stop that and do it ourselves. But.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So anyway, so that stuff's typically lower. So like down in here, these are going to be your other plugins for stuff on this lower side. So the only thing I would say is hopefully you have full admin access to your website. You may or may not, and so you may not see these other things. If you're just an editor,
screw it up like all of us, a little bit more confidence.
But like I said, yeah, I mean, email me. We can definitely talk about it. We can log into your particular website. I just don't have time in these classes to log into everybody's back ends of their websites. What other questions do we have? Because I have been told that my dinner is coming due shortly. Let me see.
I have a question about blocks.
Yep.
The Jacob Slider Business Association website, changed over to blocks, and I don't like it because it's bad. Because I'm trying to update it. So how do we undo that?
So
how do we get rid of blocks.
So same thing that I showed Liz earlier is you want to go to install, or you want to go and install the plugin Classic Editor. Okay. So, and then basically on the settings, you just want to change it to, there's a little setting that says Classic Editor versus Block Editor.
You're kind of freezing up. Oh, cool. Okay.
So, and that'll
That's
just.
what happened. Sorry, I'm on my phone now. So exactly the same time, the JLVA website, because I work on that too, switched to that block jetpack thing, same time as my hiker website, and everybody got completely screwed up.
Yeah, it's the Gutenberg editor, the block editor is, to me, it's completely useless. It is so hard to work with. So installing this plugin basically reverts it back to the old one, and you can continue to work with the old one. So.
So, but when we do that, will it mess up our content that's there that we put in with the block editor?
Nope, it will not. It'll be fine. So,
Okay.
I just did that, Michelle, on my website, and all the pages are wonderful, and everything is normal now.
Cool. All right. Good to know. Thank you.
and
So we do
it's,
the same thing.
so Nicole, let me ask you, you know, obviously you said your site is not in WordPress. So part of the reason I'm sure you wanted to, you know, attend today was to decide whether it was worthwhile to move into WordPress for your site. Did you have any other questions about WordPress and what it could do? And I did see you mentioned something about e-commerce. I missed that earlier. Let's see, because that's when my chat messed up. All right, I got it. All right. I think it'd be hard to transfer the information over. So actually, believe it or not, it depends. Let me look through your site just real quick. A lot of it's just copying and pasting. So, you know, I highlight it and I copy and paste it over to a new site. It's pretty quick. The recall tab, where's that? Oh, recalls right there. So this is still just content. So basically, you know, if I can copy this, or in a lot of cases, Nicole, what I do, if we're moving a site like this, because this can be HTML and these are links and things, I will basically take this and I'll quick switch this over to page source like this, which is all the HTML. And I would actually just I would grab that right there and copy the actual HTML into a WordPress site. Because when I'm editing on a WordPress site, if I'm here, I'm doing posts. This would be a page in this case, but I'm doing a post just because it's easier to show you. If I was editing this with the editor, there's a visual version, which is the thing that looks like Microsoft Word, and then there's text, and the text is the actual HTML, which is just going to be super slow for me. So this is the actual HTML. So I would just basically copy that, paste it in here, and we'd have your content, you know, in WordPress, and then you could do it. So again, if you want to talk more about that, Great Unstable again. Again, if you'd like to talk more about that, you know, feel free to email me and reach out, and, you know, I could walk you through the steps. We could get you set up with a WordPress, you know, install, and, you know, you could play around with it and take it from there. I mentioned earlier that, you know, one of the things we do is, you know, even if I can just get you set up and get you going in WordPress, you know, sometimes I can just do that and just guide you and then let you go from there and ask questions. I did that with actually the Southern Hill Towns. What are all the letters in SHAEC?
Southern Hill Towns Adult Education Center. Yeah. SHAEC.
So this site.
Yeah. Actually, Heather wants to work with you on this a bit.
Yeah. So we did that with this, where we basically took this from it was at WordPress.com. And we just moved it over to our hosting, kind of got it refreshed. This is a different version of the, slightly different version of the theme. But, you know, I just got Heather kind of working in it again, and you know, she's still managing it. So, yeah, and then there's more stuff she wants to do, and we can do that as well. So, and just help you along. That's what I always try to do with clients. I really try to get everybody managing their own stuff, because I can't manage every client's website. I want to get it so that people can manage their site, do their own business. You're going to know what your business is about. And that's when I go back to the SEO stuff that we talked about. That's why I go through that with clients, is because if I teach you that stuff, then you even know what you're doing there. You know, I don't sell. I do SEO for a few clients, very few. I don't really sell it as a service for our business, because I would much rather teach people how to do SEO on their own and how to manage their own site, because when you're creating your content, when you're putting stuff on your site, then everything you do, you think about with that SEO thing in mind. You know, and it just helps. No matter what platform you're using, no matter what, if everything you're putting on your website, you're thinking that SEO mindset then. So, all right. Any other questions before we finish up today? I said, everybody feel free to email me, and we can talk more about specifics at another time. Liz, hopefully I solved your main problem. You're probably ecstatic now, because anybody that has to stare at that thing,
Yeah.
the block editor.
You made my entire week.
I forget, there was a site that we were editing for a client, and I wasn't going to change them from the block editor, but I sat there and stared at that thing for probably half an hour trying to figure out something that I know how to do in the regular editor. You know, it was just something that we said over here. I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was the, you know, changing the publish date or something. And man, I couldn't find it at all in the block editor. I'm like, this should not be this hard. You know? So, but yes, this is just so much easier to do this stuff like this. So, all right. If that's it, then I will post this. I recorded all this. I will post it up to YouTube as soon as it renders on the computer, and I'll send Michelle the link, and she can send it out to everybody. If you want to watch a wonderful hour and a half or 2 hours of me talking.
Link. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So.
All right. Thank you, Paul.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Be safe. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.